first thing when you have this conversation with most folks is you have to kind of cut through the concerns about cheating and academic integrity. And I know you guys did a whole podcast episode on this, which I listened to, which is great. The perspective we're putting forward is that policing and banning generative AI is hopeless. The adoption is already way too high. There's too many ways to use it to possibly ban it or really police it. We know that the tools that claim to recognize whether text is AI generated don't work. They're not reliable. And so that's a bit of a fool's errand. And the right thing to do instead is to kind of adapt and evolve the way you do teaching and learning to accommodate not just the students are going to use these, but they're actually going to need to use them for their jobs. So when they go out into the economy, when they graduate, they're going to be expected to have proficiency in working with AI. So you might as well get them doing that when they're in college and getting a degree.
Right.
So then we have a couple of very concrete recommendations for how to do that around, like I said before, building capacity, changing sort of curriculum and assessment to both integrate and take into account AI so that people aren't just using it mindlessly, but actually using it in intentional, useful ways. And then also thinking about a little bit about the technologies themselves and how they can be used to run a university and do some of the teaching and learning tasks more effectively and consistently and efficiently.
I figured that was true, but it's good to hear that, not good to hear, I guess. I don't know. It's interesting to hear that all the cheat detection things actually suck. Actually, they can't figure it out.
There are examples of false positives coming out that people are getting punished for cheating when
brutal.
They actually had nothing to do with that. And
that stinks. Yeah, that stinks.
It's good that it's happening now, right? People are figuring it out. I think.
If they figure it out, they'll just keep relying on them. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's what, how are you, I guess, what's the relationship between the white paper and the research you're doing with kind of real world applications? Have you been playing with stuff for the past 6 months and this is kind of a survey of the stuff you've tried, what worked and what didn't? How do you know what you're proposing works? Or why do you believe that, right?
Well, one of the challenges right now is that tools that are custom built for teaching and learning contexts are not really out there in the wild yet. Yeah. The most sophisticated thing that's available, which is not primarily for a higher ed audience, is Khan Academy's Khanmigo. And I could spend a lot more time talking about that. I think it's kind of standard setting for what applications of the technology can really look like. But there aren't too many other great things that are currently kind of integrated with the kinds of technology tools that people use in higher ed, like learning management systems, for example. Yeah. And so that means that faculty members and students are, more or less using ChatGPT off the shelf, right? And, that's just a chatbot, and it has real limitations because you have to know what you're doing to use it. You have to, prompt it in effective ways. Yeah. And my own personal view is that the chatbot style of interface is not going to be the winner in terms of how we use the technology. I think really when we have tools that prompt us, and this is what Khanmigo is good at, that kind of help guide us through a process of thinking something through or creating something or improving something, and then kind of acts as a co-pilot or thought partner in how we do that. That's when it really kind of shines. And because we don't have those tools yet that are specifically built for education, we're going to be in this kind of chaotic period where people are finding and hacking their own ways of doing this and seeing kind of what sticks. And then, companies, I'm sure, will learn from that and start building things that are more effective and so on. So I think the biggest thing universities can do right now is just build their awareness, their knowledge, their capability, train their faculty, come up with good policies, encourage students to use it in good ways and helpful ways that will prepare them well. And then, the technology will kind of catch up with what the needs are and hopefully serve them.
Did you learn something just now? Get the full episode of Ways We Learn wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, we'd love to get your rating or review.